Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're tackling something you, as tile and stone pros, likely hear all the time from clients.
Yeah, that classic question. Should I paint my old tile or can I just tile right over it?
Exactly. It pops up constantly. So our goal today is really to arm you with the solid info you need to guide those client conversations effectively.
Right. We want to help you lead them to solutions that, actually last and look good long term.
We've looked at expert opinions, real-world examples, the works.
To give a clear picture of the pros and cons for both painting and tiling over.
Okay, let's dive in. Painting tile first. What's the big appeal there for a client? Why do they even ask about it?
Well, the biggest drivers are usually cost and speed, let's be honest.
Yeah, cheaper and faster. Always tempting.
Definitely. Painting seems like a much more budget-friendly update compared to ripping out all the old tile and starting fresh, and it's quicker.
Much less disruptive.
For sure. So if someone's looking for a fast style change, maybe they're selling their house or just hate the color, painting looks like an easy win.
And it can cover up some, let's say, interesting tile choices from the past.
Oh, absolutely. Dated colors, patterns you wouldn't pick today. Paint can make them disappear. Plus, you've got endless color options with paint.
True. Total aesthetic shift potential.
And some homeowners think, oh, I could do that myself, especially on like a small backsplash or something.
Okay, so it sounds good on the surface. Quick, cheap, covers ugly tile.
Okay.
But where does it start to, well, fall short? What are the cons we need to warn clients about?
This is where managing expectations is absolutely key.
Yeah.
Painting tile is fundamentally not a long-term fix like new tile is. It just isn't as durable.
Right. Paint isn't ceramic.
Exactly. It can chip, it can scratch, it can peel, especially in high traffic areas or places that get wet a lot.
So durability is the main thing.
Right.
And what about the look? Does it still look like tile?
Well, sort of, but the paint tends to fill in the grout lines, or at least soften them. So you lose that definition, that grid pattern that says tile.
Ah, okay. So if they like the grout lines, painting might not be for them.
Correct. And it's not just a case of slapping on some paint, is it? The prep work is pretty involved.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. What does that entail?
Especially with typical glossy wall tiles, you have to prep properly or the paint just won't stick.
Right.
That means serious cleaning, degreasing to get rid of any soap scum or oils, and often sanding the surface to give the primer something to grab onto.
Okay, sanding tile. Sounds fun.
Ah, yeah. And if there are any cracks or chips in the existing tile, you need to fill and repair those first, too. Otherwise, they'll show right through.
So proper prep is non-negotiable. And location matters hugely, too, right? You can't just paint any tiled surface.
Absolutely critical. Painting tile in really wet areas like inside a shower or around a tub surround, generally not a good idea.
Even with those special tub and tile paints.
Even then, constant direct water exposure often leads to blistering, peeling, failure, basically. It's a high-risk application.
Okay, so showers are mostly out. What about kitchen countertops?
Also pretty problematic. Think about it. Hot pans, knives, spills. Painted tile just isn't tough enough for that kind of use. It'll get damaged quickly.
Makes sense. And floors. That seemed like a big question mark in our research.
Yeah, floors are tricky. You'll find people online saying they painted their floor tile and it looks okay, but usually that's in very low traffic spots, maybe a laundry room corner or a fireplace hearth that no one walks on.
So not the main kitchen floor or the entryway.
Definitely not. Constant foot traffic will wear through paint relatively quickly. We also saw notes about issues even on successful painted floors where, say, a potted plant sits, or a pet's water bowl. Standing water is paint's enemy.
Right. So for floors, it's generally a thumbs down for a lasting solution.
Pretty much. It's a short-term cosmetic fix at best, and often not even a good one.
Any other downsides to painting? Odors. Maintenance.
Yeah, some of the tougher paints like epoxies that might offer a bit more durability can have really strong odors during application. You need good ventilation.
Okay.
And while you can clean painted tile, you have to be careful. Harsh cleaners or scrubbing too hard can damage the paint. And again, standing water is bad news.
Got it. So painting, quick, maybe cheaper upfront, good for a temporary refresh in very specific low-impact areas, but big questions about durability and longevity and prep is key.
That sums it up pretty well.
Okay. Let's switch gears. What about the other option? Tiling over the existing tile. What are the benefits there?
The main advantage is permanence and durability. When it's done right, you're getting a brand new solid tile surface, just like a standard installation. It's a much more robust, long-term solution than paint.
And the big appeal for many is skipping the demolition phase, right?
Exactly. Avoiding the mess, the dust, the labor of tearing out the old tile.
Yeah.
That's a huge plus for a lot of people, especially DIYers or clients who want less disruption.
Less mess is always good.
And obviously, it allows for a complete change in style. New tile, new look.
Okay, sounds great. But our research really hammered home one point. The condition of the existing tile is everything.
Absolutely non-negotiable. This is the most critical factor for tiling over tile successfully.
So what makes the existing tile suitable?
It must be soundly bonded. You need to tap test the tiles, listen for hollow sounds. Hollow means loose, and you cannot tile over loose tile.
Right, because the new layer would just be sitting on something unstable.
Precisely. The existing surface also needs to be relatively level and flat, and free from any major cracks or damage. You also need to be sure there aren't any underlying moisture problems behind the old tile.
Ah, okay. So tiling over isn't the magic fix for leaks or bigger substrate issues.
No, definitely not. It's primarily an aesthetic upgrade if the foundation is solid. It won't solve hidden problems.
So even if you skip demo, you still have prep work to do before laying the new tile.
Oh, absolutely. Prep is still crucial. You need to clean the existing tile surface meticulously, get rid of all grease, soap, scum, any residues.
Okay. And then the really important part, you need to use a specific type of bonding primer. Something designed to stick to smooth, non-porous surfaces like glazed tile.
Like those gritty primers.
Exactly. Products like Custom's Eco Prim Grip or Laticrete's Prime and Bond, they create a textured surface that the new thinset mortar can physically grip onto. You can't just put thinset directly onto old, smooth tile.
Right, need that mechanical bond.
Yeah.
So, what are the downsides or complications of adding that second layer? Thickness must be an issue.
It is. You're adding the thickness of the new tile plus the thinset. This raises the overall floor height.
Which can cause problems with doors.
Doors needing trimming, yeah. Also, thresholds transitioning to other rooms, you might have an awkward height difference. And appliances or fixtures like toilets might need adjusting or extensions.
Okay, so floor height needs careful consideration. What about on walls? Is weight a concern?
It can be, especially if you're tiling a very large wall area. You're adding significant weight, so you need to be confident the underlying wall structure can handle it. Good point. And what happens if something goes wrong later, or the client decides they want a different new look in a few years?
That's the potential nightmare of double demolition. If the new installation fails for some reason, or they renovate again later, you've got 2 layers of tile and thinset to rip out. Much more work, much more debris.
Yikes. Double the headache.
And again, just to reiterate, if there was an underlying issue like a slow leak in a shower, tiling over it just hides the problem temporarily. It doesn't fix it.
So it sounds like tiling over tile, while possible for a DIYer, maybe requires a bit more know-how than a standard job.
I'd say so, yes. Because the prep is so critical, understanding the right primers and thinsets is important, and you need to anticipate those height and transition issues.
Need to plan for adjusting thresholds, maybe using larger edge trims on walls to cover the double thickness.
Exactly. Those little details matter for a professional finish.
Okay, wow. That's a lot to unpack for both options. So for us pros advising clients, what are the key takeaways? How do we guide them best?
I think the absolute first step is understanding why they want the change. What's their main driver? Is it budget, speed, a long-term fix, or just pure aesthetics?
Knowing their priority helps point the way.
Definitely. Then you have to be really clear about expectations. Especially with painting, explaining its limitations in terms of durability is crucial. Don't let them think it's equivalent to new tile.
Manage those expectations up front.
And
Location, 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 right.
paramount. Where is this tile? Shower wall, kitchen floor, countertop. That drastically changes the viability of painting and even influences the tiling over decision.
And for tiling over, that assessment of the existing tile is make or break.
Absolutely. Emphasize checking for loose tiles, levelness, cracks, any sign of moisture. If the base isn't solid, tiling over is off the table, period.
Got it. Stressing proper prep no matter which route they choose.
Non-negotiable for either method. Cleaning, primers, bonding agents. Skimping here leads to failure down the road.
And finally, just be transparent about the downsides.
Yeah, talk openly about the limited lifespan of paint or the potential complications of added thickness and double demo with tiling over. An informed client makes better decisions.
Right. A well-informed client is usually a happy client in the end.
Precisely. So as you can see, it's not always a simple choice. There's no single right answer.
It really depends on the specific situation.
Exactly. But by understanding these pros and cons, digging into the client's goals, checking the existing conditions carefully, you can guide them to the solution that truly fits their project and their expectations.
Fantastic. Hopefully, this deep dive gives everyone listening some valuable points to use in those client conversations.
Yeah.
What other tricky tile and stone situations are you running into out there? We'd love to hear about them.
Yeah, let us know.
Let's keep learning together.
And maybe a final thought. This whole paint versus tile over dilemma often reflects how a client views permanence versus convenience in their home. Understanding that mindset can be really insightful when you're talking through the options. It tells you a lot about what they truly value.